This and stand, recite the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to our meeting this evening. Unfortunately, Trustee Hamilton sends her regrets. We'll get started by approving our agenda on page 2. Is there a motion, please?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the agenda as printed.
Thank you, Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. We'll move forward with our agenda as planned and start, as we always do, the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Randy. We only have one item on the superintendent's report, and that's our financial report that Paula Johnson will provide.
Excuse me. Good evening, Board of Ed and Superintendent Beeling. Included in your board packet was the financial report through the month of April. Without sounding like a broken record from the last report I gave you, I will try to touch on a few things that are beyond status quo. I would like to draw your attention to the state categorical for revenue. That is up compared to last year. And that number being higher than last year also relates to the bottom line of excess revenues over expenditures currently, and I just want to explain that briefly to you. The state school aid package for this school year had about 150 new categoricals included in it, and we started to receive a lot of that money after the February budget amendment. So some of the revenues that you've heard us talk about, Section 97 for security, Section 31AA, there's a new one that just came out, 147C2. There's a lot of these line items that will get expended at year end, or excess revenue will get deferred at year end. So you cannot take a lot of scope in looking to how the bottom line is going to end for year end by looking at that bottom number. I just want to draw your attention to that. Moving away from revenue now, I'd like to just jump down to expenditures and added needs. That CTE payment that I spoke of regarding the February report that I gave you, that's still going to show up as a variance because we paid it in the previous year in May. So it looks like we paid ahead with the CTE expenditures, but it's just the timing of the payment, and that's not going to work itself out until we get to the month of May's report. Moving down to other support services, I just want to point out it's the same. I looked at it again today. Our coaching costs are up. Our officials' costs are up for athletics. Our supply costs are up from last year from athletics. So that's the same explanation that I gave you the last time I gave you this report. So I apologize for being a broken record, but that's just the numbers are the numbers, and that's where the variance is happening. On the back page, where it breaks everything out by object code, our purchase services are coming in higher than last year, and that has to do with our substitute costs, our nursing costs that were not in the budget last year, and our mental health services that were funneling through Section 31N6. So that's the highlights of the report. There's not a whole lot to report on except for just to give you, I just wanted to mainly point out to you the revenue things that are happening at the top. Just a couple quick general things. Tomorrow is our bond sale. So we will know the outcome of that by about noon tomorrow. And we're gearing up for budget season, and later on the agenda, we will set the budget hearing, and we'll get the ad ready to go to the Gazette. So that's all I have to report tonight. Are there any questions?
Could you comment on the revenue conference?
Oh, certainly. I listened to that on Friday. The general fund is down from overall projections, but they were starting to plan on that. And the state school aid fund is strong and is coming in just slightly higher than projections. So we're still waiting to see what our final funding is going to be, but that's a personal version of revenue estimating company.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paula. Just want to remind trustees, we've got some graduations coming up. I know several of you are helping out in various capacity, but Community High School is this Thursday evening at 7 o'clock, and that'll be at Portage Northern Auditorium. And then Portage Northern graduates Friday evening, same time at Miller Auditorium. So I think you've received instructions on what time to get there and where to park and everything else. So if you have any questions, make sure you give us a call this week. I'll just follow. Next week, Friday, is Portage Central's graduation out at Wing Stadium. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
We can move into board education.
Let's do it.
So Dr. Kelly Jensenius is here to give you a little bit of an update on some of the work taking place with our English Language Arts curriculum, grades K through 8. And I'm going to stop there so I don't repeat anything that she's going to say. So, Kelly?
Thank you, Peter. Good evening, Superintendent Beeling and Board of Trustees. The purpose of tonight is to share some exciting information with you about where we are in our ELA resource adoption process for K-8. So we have had 3 guiding principles that we've used when selecting resources. So I just kind of want to go through that with you a little bit. In order to begin searching for our next core resource, we had to identify the most important aspects of literacy that we are desiring to meet our needs in Portage Public Schools. Our ELA resource, we want it to be aligned with the science of teaching reading. The science of reading shows us that reading comprehension, just to give a little bit of background, is not the sum, but the product of 2 different components. So that word recognition and language comprehension. And that if either one of those is weak, we see that reading comprehension is diminished. So we work really hard to make sure we have both components of that. And we use the science of reading as our guide to help inform our instruction and our assessment. And this is how we identify priority standards in Portage Public Schools. Those priority standards represent that end game of what students must know and be able to do by the time they end each grade level. So that's what we use priority standards for. The second principle is that our resource must be knowledge-rich. Teaching knowledge is critical in teaching reading. So research that supports this is when we build student knowledge, we promote that equity. Having broad knowledge about the natural and human world, as we know, is essential component in reading comprehension. And another key aspect of it being knowledge-rich is inspiring our students' curiosity about the world around them. So we want that in our resource. And that final principle is that a resource should be comprehensive, yet it really still needs to be flexible enough to support the instruction of those priority standards. And we are challenging ourselves and our teachers to think less about what we all know, which is those comprehension strategies like main idea, detail, inferring, and all of that, and more about what knowledge I can build with my students. What do I want them to learn from reading that text? So it is essential that our resources are able to provide a knowledge-rich experience while allowing teachers that ability to build lessons with students' needs in mind. So we want it comprehensive, yet still flexible. And these principles were based on the research around high-quality ELA instruction. We had lots and lots of teams involved in this up to this point so far. Which would be elementary and middle school teachers, librarians, our principals, our reading specialists, our engagement specialists, our ESI coordinators, our teachers and specialists that are involved in some of our DEI work, members of our CIA team, and other stakeholders who have had input into the initial focus groups. And all of this work has been part of our rigorous PPS curricular review cycle. So this work has been ongoing. With that, I wanted to share with you the phases that we've gone through. And our curriculum review cycle does have multiple phases to it. This particular phase that you see up here focuses just on that resource adoption process. And the rounds listed on this slide show the overview of those specific steps. So beginning, as you can see at the top, in round 1, we used the alignment of the science of reading to vet over. We had 10 different ELA resources to identify areas we would need to support in order to meet those guiding principles. Then we took it to round 2 with those initial resources to see if they met the threshold of round 1 criteria. while using the science of reading criteria as well as an evaluation tool. Those that were not well aligned were eliminated before moving to round 3. So we were using a process to get those out of there. In round 3, we did gather feedback on the resources and analyze them in areas like usability for teachers, which was a big component that the teachers talked a lot about, and engagement for students, and whether that resource was diverse, equitable, and inclusive of all our students. As you can see, there's an arrow going from round 3 up to round 1. We repeated these rounds with a few different resources at that point to get to round 4. So we had some make it to round 3. We went through that process, and we realized that wasn't what the teachers were wanting or needing for the students, and we had to go back through the process. And we did. And we are currently in round 4 right now, preparing for an adoption phases of 1 and 2. In phase 1, which will be the 23-24 school year, all our middle school ELA teachers will implement new units. The elementary rollout will look slightly different for us, and it will be a set of 30 early adopters, which will begin in the 23-24 school year, with the goal of supporting all K-5 teachers implementing during the 24-25 school year. And there are 2 resources that are going to be a part of this adoption. When we look at that, the first resource that we'll be looking to adopt will be used at kindergarten through 2nd grade. It is called UFly, and it is directly aligned to the science of teaching reading, and it provides K2 readers with a powerful framework for teaching them the how to read, the foundation of it all. So that's that first resource. The second one that we are adopting, K8, is called Fish Tank ELA. Currently, we are using, as some of you may know, Journeys series in K5. That was originally published in 2012, which the company has since retired that particular series, Journeys, or called sunsetted. At the middle school level, Holt McDougall Literature is the main resource that has also been retired. These textbook resources do not meet those PPS guiding principles. So both those resources, you can't get any of the materials any longer. They have sunsetted off, which is why we are going through review cycles. Fish Tank ELA units place a premium on incorporating a variety of text and topics that appeal to students' natural curiosity about the world. Students see themselves in stories and in characters while also learning about other cultures, experiences, and perspectives. The use of Fish Tank as our main ELA resource in K-8 will develop students as critical readers, writers, and thinkers. And the unit lessons with text sets will widen student perspective so they can better understand themselves and the world around them. And the difference here is that they're using real books instead of a singular textbook. With that, as we continue, we have some next step. As we continue to move forward, we have several next steps on the docket. We will be hosting a family discovery night, which we will have families coming in. We need to set that date to review the resources. We'll be coming back to you for the material purchase approval, and we'll be bringing in our teachers to dig into the resources to prepare to teach in the fall during our summer curriculum work week in June. So we have a lot going on. This ELA resource adoption process would not be possible without those multiple teams coming together, providing that feedback and input, and really digging into the different resources out there. And we really appreciate all that who have contributed into that work to make sure that we have the best resources and are coming alive in our classrooms. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
You've done some quick work.
What's that?
You've done some quick work since the CIC meeting in April.
Yeah, we've been
So
a lot
that's
in the
great.
background, but yes, continue, kind of pulling it all together since April, getting it up and moving, yes, absolutely.
Well, and I knew you said you were going back to the phase 1 at that point, so you've made a lot of progress.
Yes, there have been a lot of working teams in our admin building over the past several weeks, getting it organized and putting input into it.
I'm glad that you're aligning with science of reading. How many curriculums right now are not aligned with science of reading?
So that's a big question. I think just depends, right? So you see that you might see them say, align with the science of reading. It's really those rubrics that you use to dig deeper into the resources to say that really is not deep enough into what we're looking for. We had 10 original resources that when we narrowed it down, we brought one really far ahead, and it was aligned, but what we found was that wasn't about the science of reading for them, for the teachers. It was more around the resource itself and how it was set up. So yeah, I think they're getting there, more and more are getting there, but this one in particular definitely hit. I think we had some stats like 82% of it was like good to go, where others were like 12% or lower. Yeah. So wow. Yeah. And it depends on where you're at, right? Like this is what our teachers are saying they enjoy. They're like, where are the books? Where are the things? So it's been good. Yeah.
Kelly, did you use the term early adopters?
We did use the term early
Can you
adopters.
tell us the quality of your are they volunteers who are willing
Yes.
to go early and kind of help work the kinks
They
out?
are. They're very excited. These are our teachers who are just gung-ho about setting the stage, and especially at elementary, when you talk about a big curricular resource like this, taking K-5, 40 teachers per grade level, multiply that out by the buildings, getting that many people up and running the first go-around is really difficult to do. And so these early adopters are volunteers from the buildings. I think we have our goal, we have a whole spreadsheet of balancing it out with all 8 buildings to make sure we have representation across all of them, but also all grade levels. So their jobs will be then at different grade meetings to talk about them, talk about what they've been working on, getting some feedback, and then the following year be able to roll it out and help support the process. So yeah, they're very excited. And one building said, can we have the whole building? And we're like, oh, we cannot do that yet. So yes. Yep. Well, thank you all.
Thanks, Kelly. Thank you. To you, and thanks to your team for all the work they're doing on that.
Thank you.
Do we have any citizens who wish to address the board this evening? Okay. Comments by board trustees?
Well, Randy, I'll make a brief comment to thank my colleagues for the extra time this afternoon at the retreat. Kind of dry. What was it? We took about 10 minutes debating over a word.
Yes.
Important
Less
stuff.
than usual.
Not a positive outcome.
So yes, many thanks.
So this is one of these comments that I wish we had, a packed house and spilling over into an auditorium, because Saturday night I got to attend the Science Innovation induction ceremony at the Air Zoo. A beautiful formal affair with 200-300 people there for a nice dinner. This includes students and educators from basically Southwest Michigan, but it has at times reached into Grand Rapids to pull exceptional people out. But there were 2 teachers recognized, and one of them was Michelle Mason from Portage Northern. She has been there for 18 years and teaches chemistry and this is just from talking to her, such diverse things as using Alka-Seltzer tablets to talk about mass and kind of reimagine that. And then also her students do a lot of restoration work at the Air Zoo to learn about aerodynamics and some of those things. Also then, on the Student Excellence Awards was Samar Bhatia from Portage Central, who has excelled in a whole wide range of science areas that she says really just goes as far as her imagination will take her. So that was pretty cool. And then on the senior circuit, if we get home tonight in time, Portage Northern's Tommy Henry is starting against the Phillies tonight for the Diamondbacks. It would appear that he is up to stay. I've been following him game by game, and he's getting in there. And Max Schumann, who played with him, is at AAA Oakland A's, playing in Las Vegas, and he hit his 3rd and 4th home runs over the weekend. And he plays shortstop, and he's kind of on the cusp of getting that first call up. So I think a lot of their skill came from very tenacious ping pong battles in my basement. So I attribute a lot of it to that.
That's funny. That's funny. Both of those boys are elementary school families that, and neighbors that we knew and know, and in book clubs with the moms and stuff like that. So it's pretty exciting. I want to piggyback on your Michelle Mason. Several of us were at the Portage Northern IB ceremony last week on Wednesday, and she was called up by multiple students as their significant educator. So that's really impressive. One of my students had the privilege of having her as a teacher, and it was a great experience. So good to know, and fun to see the kids and see what their extended essays were about and see where they're headed next year, and just a really delightful, fun evening. It's really like the pinnacle of what we're trying to achieve, and I especially was impressed by the young man who had, I think he had Mason and Tony Moon as his educators, him saying, I wasn't really a very good student at all in middle school, and I didn't do my work and this and that and the other thing, and then here he is, an IB diploma student. So he credited these teachers with really giving him the push he needed. It was great.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Keith. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move to our consent agenda on page 8, and we have 7 things on the consent agenda tonight. Number 1 is to approve the minutes of the May 8th, 2023 Committee of the Whole work session. Number 2 is to approve the miscellaneous tobacco-related and technology-related policy revisions as presented. Number 3 is to approve the purchase of school furniture from VS America Incorporated in the amount of $66,632.60, the cost for which will come from the 2023-24 general fund budget. Number 4 is to approve the purchase of 2 wrestling mats for Central High School from Rest-A-Lite Sports Products in the amount of $30,488.60, the funds for which will come from the 2023-24 general fund SOAR budget. Number 5 is to approve the purchase of iPads, mounts, and related hardware to outfit our bus fleet with turn-by-turn navigation in the base amount of $69,949. Number 6 is to authorize the purchase of 1,400 Chromebooks from C-High Computer Products in an amount not to exceed $349,412, and those Chromebooks will be funded by ESSER and general fund monies. And finally, to approve the Portage Central High School Spanish student trip to Spain set for June 17 through 27, 2024, as presented. Are there any exceptions to the consent agenda as presented? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved, and we now move to page 41 for our first required action item, the KRESA biennial election resolution. Is there a motion, please?
Yes, Mr. President. I make the motion that the Board of Education approve the resolution designating the district's electoral representative and first ballot candidate choice as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. So this is the KRESA biennial election coming to us again. We've already chosen Terry as our representative and Kimberly as our alternate for this election on June 5th. And there are only 2 candidates running for the 2 positions that are open, and that's 2 incumbents, Skip Knowles from Vicksburg and myself. Is there any discussion on this item?
Not discussion, but I just remind those people voting that that's a process that takes about 4 minutes. So if you're late, you're going to miss the vote. So
Okay.
Don't turn your car off. Yeah.
And is it KRESA?
Yes.
5 o'clock sharp,
Yep.
June 5th.
Randy, I'm just going to say, I'm assuming you're going to get reelected.
It's looking good right
And
now.
want to thank you for doing double duty.
Oh, you're welcome.
Serving this
Thank
district
you.
and the whole county.
Thank you.
I know it takes a lot of time and appreciate your efforts.
appreciate that, Bo, thank you. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor of approving the KRESA biennial election resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Next, another KRESA item, the 23-24 general fund budget on page 45. Is there a motion, please?
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education adopt the resolution provided indicating support of the KRESA General Education Fund budget for the 2023-24 school year as presented.
Thanks, Bo. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item? We reviewed it at our last meeting. Okay, then, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The KRESA general fund budget is approved. And now we're moving to our action items, and the first one is to set the special meeting for the superintendent evaluation. And I would recommend that we do that on June 19th. That's our last meeting of this school year at 4 p.m. This is the date we've typically chosen to do this. And if that's acceptable, could someone offer the motion, please?
Sure. President Van Antwerp, I move that the Board of Education set a special meeting for the superintendent evaluation on June 19th, 2023 at 4 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion on this one? All in favor of setting a special meeting date for the superintendent evaluation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes and the date is set. Our next action item is to set the special meeting for security planning. Is there a motion, please, on page 53?
Yes, Mr. President, I make the motion that the Board of Education set a special meeting on June 5th, 2023 at 5 p.m. for the purpose of security planning.
Thank you, Keith. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? This meeting will be in closed session.
This conflicts with the vote with
It
the
does.
KRESA board.
Yes, so two of us
So
will.
Oh, you're
do we
right.
want to move it back
Right.
by a half hour just to give travel time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
5:30?
Is that enough time?
Or 6?
We can make it work for that amount of time. You know, how about if we set it for 5:15 and then we'll just make sure we hold off on if there's anything of significance that, you know, we don't want everyone to miss. We'll just start right after that.
Okay.
And will it be in there, or will it be across the street?
We should probably make it here so that it's easier to get from one room to the next. That we don't have to find a room here, Barb.
Okay.
Good catch, Kim. Thank you. So we have a corrected motion then, 5:15?
Yes.
Someone made the motion, correct?
I did.
Yes, and then there's a second?
Second, yeah.
Okay, very good. All in favor of setting a special meeting for security planning, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes, and that'll be on June 5th at 5:15 p.m. The next action item is to set the budget hearing. This is an annual hearing. The motion is on page 54, please.
President Van Antwerp, I move that the Board of Education set the budget hearing for June 19th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. as a part of the June 19 regular business meeting agenda.
Thank you, Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of setting the budget hearing for June 19th at 6:30 p.m., please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. The date for the budget hearing is set. And we'll now move to our discussion item. The first one is revision to policy 6320.
6320 is a policy that speaks to the bidding process and the allowances to use the consolidated bid or the pre-approved bid package. Basically, we're just shifting the language to capture current practice as allowed by law. So it's no changes to existing practice. It just captures what we've been doing for several years that we just haven't picked up in policy. So that's should have come with the others, but we just didn't have it in that queue, so that's what this is. I don't know, Paula, is there anything else you wanted to say on this
You
one?
did great. You did great.
It's not consolidated, it's,
The competitive bid threshold, so it allows for like the consortium related options to be used without having to obtain additional bids. Is what it allows for.
so, that's all, it's really almost just we've added a couple words just to reflect that. That's been it.
And the policy's available in the
If
office.
any board member wants to see it, you're welcome to come on by.
Okay, our next discussion item is the bus purchase.
I'm here tonight on Johnny's behalf to present to the board a recommendation for us to purchase 5 new buses. 4 of those buses would be 77 passenger buses, and 1 of them would be a lift bus. This purchase would be made through Holland Bus for a total of $660,904. This does represent approximately a 25% increase in bus costs since the last time we purchased buses in December of 2021. The buses were bid using the Michigan School Business Officials bus purchasing program, so we did not go out for a competitive bid for these. We used a consortium pricing to purchase these buses. And we plan to purchase these buses from the contingency funds that are still left from the 2019 bond. Usually takes a good solid 6 months or a little bit longer once the board does approve this and we issue the PO. So it's on the agenda to be approved at our next meeting. Any questions that I might be able to answer, or that I might be able to go
So
back?
I assume these new buses will have the advanced GPS system that's being retrofitted into the existing buses?
Yes, that would be correct.
And then my question, Paula, you probably won't know, but when you do our bus purchases, it's always electric buses. Are they on the horizon? Are they getting close, or are they still way off?
This is what I know about electric buses. Electric buses cost about twice as much as regular buses, and electric buses have about 100-mile range on them right now. So at this time, as we still continue to look into them, they're not going to quite meet our district needs, even though it's becoming a thing of the future. We're waiting for them to improve beyond their current state.
They're on our horizon.
Yeah.
They're, on our radar, I guess.
I think one year we'll have them. I mean, I think at some point we will.
I answered it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul. Our final discussion item is the audio-visual system refresh at Central High School and Northern High School.
Yes, what you have before you is a recommendation just to do that. We're looking to refresh the AV systems at the Central High Commons, Northern High Commons, and in the Central High Gymnasium. This mostly involves upgrading amplifiers, control systems, and displays. For example, the TVs will be larger and brighter, which will be especially helpful in the Northern High Commons because of all the glass and sunlight we have in that area. It also includes a fixed permanent projector in the CHS Commons, which gives us another option for larger community events that we sometimes struggle finding a place to host. Growing up, my father and I enjoyed watching Clint Eastwood movies together, and one of my favorite lines is, "A man has to know his limitations." AV systems is not my wheelhouse. I am a database programmer more than I am an AV designer. So I did engage our technology consultants from Tower Pinkster to design this RFP and execute it for us. And it just so happens that Cameron Drake, who designed the original systems in these facilities, is now working for Tower Pinkster and was in a position to really guide us on how to make excellent, or maximum use, I should say, of our existing gear without having to buy more than what we would need. The base bid, or the recommended amount here, I should say, includes a 10% contingency for change orders, just in case. I don't think we'll need it, but there are 2 unknowns that we'll have to dive into once we start doing the actual work. One is the control system for the projector screen at Central High that might have to be replaced. That's an older style high voltage system, and most systems are low voltage these days. The other X factor is going to be getting power to the fixed projector that's going to go in the commons in this facility. Until we do the engineering on that, we won't know for sure what that's going to look like. Other than that, I don't have a lot of comments. If the board would so be inclined, I would like to ask for action on this evening. Right now, we're still seeing a pretty significant lag time in ordering AV supplies, and I'd like to give us the best possible chance to get this work done this summer before the students return. I can't guarantee we'll get it done, but I'd like the best odds. But that being said, if the board would like to take its customary 2-week window to wait to approve this, that's fine as well, and we'll just plan on completing some of the work after the school day ends next fall. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions for Dan? Would the board be amenable to taking this item to action this evening?
Well, I'd like to make the motion that the Board of Education move the CHS-NAH audiovisual system refresh discussion item to action.
Thank you, Keith. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of moving this item to action, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. It's now an action item. Is there a motion, please?
President Van Antwerp, I move that the Board of Education authorize a contract award to C.S. Erickson of Grand Haven, Michigan for the refresh of audiovisual systems located at Central and Northern High Schools in the amount of $142,999.12, the funds for which will be drawn from the 2021 bond fund.
Thank you, Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the audio-visual refresh system, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. The audio-visual system refresh is approved. We've reached the end of our agenda. Please drop off your meeting evaluations with me, and with that, we are adjourned. 7:07.
I know. I was.
Check with Michael. I think they're going to be on site.